Take a breathtaking trip with Top Travel, brought to you by Halls and the power of menthol. Refresh, refocus, Halls. Breathe for it. Ungapheli umoya. Last week on Top Travel, we scuba dived the kelp forests and took flight from Signal Hill. This week, we jump continents to cycle Amsterdam, try a little cheese farming, lose ourselves in a sea of tulips, taste Green Star dining, paint Delft pottery, print a Rembrandt, and remind you that you could win a trip to Amsterdam for two. A good night's sleep from Joburg or Cape Town, and you're in a city built on centuries of Dutch history.
Just about 12 hours later and we're on a completely different continent. The chill in Amsterdam hits you right away, but luckily we've got a nice cozy place to call home.
The beauty of this area is that it's not too far off, just a quick tram ride there, but you still feel that incredible Dutch culture. It's going to be a fun time, I can feel it in the air.
Oh, how cute! We are right up in the eaves. We're like in the roof of this historical building. I love it.
The beauty of it is that you get this window that lets you just peek out while still feeling nice and snug in here. It's also interesting because you can tell that it is a refurbished space because there are these kind of stripped down poles and pillars that are here. So it's the new, it's the old, it's the retro, it all comes together to give you a very unique experience.
The narrow houses are the result of Amsterdammers running out of elbow room and having to build up, which means you can sightsee a lot of these lovely buildings in a short space of time.
It's a chilly day today, but the sun is out and I can't think of a better way to explore this quirky and unique city than by bike and maybe a little bit by foot.
I mean, the bikes outnumber the people here, so we had to do it the way they do it. Come explore with us. Okay, before we start going and cycling around, how about we just take a moment to actually appreciate this beautiful architecture and breathe this incredible air.
We're going to be cycling a lot, and luckily this city is quite flat, so hopefully it's not going to be too much cardio, but always good to just get in the zone
and have one-of-a-kind experience.
All right, so here goes the bike tour. We've got our local guide, Ferner, who's going to be taking us around. What better way to see the city than through the eyes of a local? Looking forward to this. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
The great thing about this city is it's relatively flat. So even though jumping on a bike and spending your day riding it might seem like a cardio workout, it's surprisingly chilled, and I feel like we're making light work of making our way through the city. Oh, I've heard about these flower bikes before. Do you know the story behind this?
Yes, I do. It's actually from an artist. He told me the story of the flower bikes are actually a story of love. His wife actually got epilepsy and she couldn't find her black bike anymore at Central Station. She thought it was stolen. It happened about 4 times, and then he found out it was because of her disease that she couldn't find it anymore. So what he did, he actually decorated it all with all of these flowers so she wouldn't lose her bike anymore.
Her husband, artist Warren Gregory, then decorated several abandoned bikes on his wife's route home to help guide her back. Today, he's left 400 flower bikes around Amsterdam.
Oh, well, I mean, acts of service is definitely one of the 5 love languages, and maybe I'll be getting one of my own flower bikes one day.
More than 400, a million.
You heard it, you're my witness.
So what's so fun about Amsterdam is we have a lot of canals, so that also means we have a lot of bridges. We have over 500 bridges here in Amsterdam. Thing is that we have really good civil engineering, so almost all of the bridges can actually open up. You see this one right over here actually opens up manually. So what you do is you pull down on the chain, and if you are quite strong, you do that on both sides and it opens up like that, and then a ship can pass. And then to close it down again, just 2 quite heavy guys need to walk up simultaneously, and when it walks up, they just close like that.
Well, they say that this bridge can move, you just need a strong man to do it, so you know, I always have to. Just give me a moment, watch the It's, I don't want to pull it down, so I'm just going to leave it.
Fez wasn't hanging around to see some other guy open the bridge. Fortunately, conversation quickly turned to famous paintings, and they are everywhere in this city.
So how did you guys enjoy going underneath the museum?
So cool. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would bike underneath all of these world famous works of art. So that was super special for me.
The Rijksmuseum actually is the gateway to Amsterdam. The Rijksmuseum is also home to the Night Watch, one of the most famous paintings of Rembrandt van Rijn, one of our best painters actually, together with Van Gogh, which actually is also on this square. We have the Rijksmuseum, the Van Gogh Museum, and also the Stedelijk Museum on this square right over here.
After its renowned art collections, Amsterdam's next most visited museum is the house where a young Jewish girl hid and so nearly survived the Second World War. Her experience published in the diary of Anne Frank.
We are now at our next stop. We are in front of the Anne Frank house. You have here the museum, and then those two houses are actually the house she was in hiding. Everyone knows her story. Her father, Onno Frank, actually gave out her book, published her book after her death, and nowadays it's actually one of the most published books in the world. It is an important and beautiful story, but also very sad, of course.
But I've been looking around and I love this building. It almost looks like someone's taken a slice out of it.
Yeah, that's actually because this whole neighborhood behind here is called Jordaan, and it was made to be a working class neighborhood. So canals were there before the houses were. So if it would have been for a rich neighborhood, they would bother to change the canals according to the houses. But now they just had to work with the space they had. So they actually made all of those houses really pointy and weird corners to fit the canals.
Whoa, okay, so this is what the working class neighborhoods look like. I wonder what the rich neighborhoods look like.
I'll show you.
Okay.
These houses are different from any of the houses we've seen. They are not short when it comes to how wide they are. Clearly a bit outside of the city, but it's also where the more affluent members stay. And you can tell the park, the house, it all looks way too good. These houses are so beautiful, Ferna, but they're very different from the houses we saw in the city. They're a lot bigger.
What happened is that a lot of people were really packed together at the center of Amsterdam, and the canals were also used as a sewage back then during the 1600s. So a lot of rich people actually started leaving Amsterdam because they didn't like it anymore. And this whole neighborhood around here is actually built to keep those rich people in Amsterdam. And they built these really big houses with this whole park that would be their private park. So their sort of secret back garden. And nowadays it's actually a really, really lovely park for everyone. But it was built to be their private back garden.
Our bike ride through Amsterdam has been so varied. We've been in the hustle and bustle of the city, and now we get to coast through this lovely green belt, watching people play, kids having fun, dogs on the leash. It really does give you a hint as to how the locals live here.
This whole experience just highlights how you can move from city to calm, green areas, all within a couple of pedals of a bike.
Coming up, everyone say cheese. Is this the reason why the Dutch are the tallest nation on earth? Refresh, refocus. Take on the sights of the city. Halls, breathe for it. Ungapeli umoya. A little more legwork gets you to the farmland of northern Holland, where they're proudly the cheesiest place on earth.
The Netherlands is known for producing many things, but one of its greatest exports is cheese, with over 800 million kilos made every single year. Gotta figure out how they do it.
It is wild how much cheese they make. And you know, the weather's a little bit temperamental today, but that's not going to deter us. Looking forward to get cheesy. Let's go! Our first stop on our tour through the Henry Willing factory is to check out where the milk of this delicious cheese comes from. So keen to see these cows in their kraal.
The Netherlands is known for its windmills and of course its cheese production. Why is that the case?
Well, the Netherlands is in a climate where it's not too hot and not too cold. and it rains a lot. And the grass is green, and that's the main thing for the cows, to have the good quality of grass to make the good milk. So that's basically the start of how you can make good cheese.
All of these cows look like they're the same species. Are they the best for the milk?
Yeah, they are all Jerseys, and the Jersey is typical for the high yields in the milk. So high fat percentage and high protein percentage, and that's good for making the cheese.
I noticed when we were walking through that there's some modern machinery that you're using to do the milking process.
Yeah, that's correct. We have a milking robot, and the cow has a transponder around its neck, so the milking robot knows exactly which cow is in the milking robot. And it's also when a cow is being too late, then the farmer gets a message on his phone that he needs to act. We are here at the Jersey's calves. They are just born between February and April this year. The girls, they stay here, and the boys, they go to another farm, and they're being kept alive until they're 2.5 years old. And they still have their horns, and they are still able to breathe. So that's very nice. Yeah. We are constantly thinking, what can we do better? And you keep learning every day, and you talk with other farmers, what are you doing? And you learn from each other, and you're just trying to do the best.
Think of how many everyday dishes use cheese, and the demand for it makes perfect sense.
Welcome to Katwoude, to the cheese makery. We are a small plant and we make baby Gouda cheese from cow, from goat and from sheep milk. And we take the milk from about 50 farmers in the Netherlands. And the process starts with a curting machine. We make the curd and the whey, we separate it. And after that it goes into the pressing machine. We press the cheese about 35 minutes. And after that it goes into the salt water bath. In the salt water bath it stays about 8 hours. And then it goes to the warehousing, and it goes into the wax. And in the wax it stays young cheese. It's very important that we do that. And after that it goes to the customer. We have our own shops in the Netherlands, but also in other countries. Today we have made about 10,000 cheeses.
Wow, 10,000 cheeses.
10,000 cheeses, yeah.
Well, here you have the cheese. It needs to have that waxy layer added to it. And I think this might become another professional add to the list. Just watch me do it. I've been watching the pro.
So that machine over there adds the wax layer on the cheese, and then it gets dipped in cold water to set the wax. Then it's ready for packing. I'm in heaven.
Come
Cheese
inside.
heaven. We've got how many cheeses in here?
Over here we have about 200,000 cheeses.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
This is green though.
This is the green pesto cheese. It's a special one.
Well, you've heard of blue cheese, now green cheese. It looks delicious.
It's said this calcium-rich diet has made the Dutch the world's tallest nation, adding to the demand for their cheese.
Hi Laura.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. We've been at your farm, so to be able to see where you sell your cheeses is really special.
Yes. This is the cheese farm at the Zaans Schans.
How long has the cheese farm been operating?
Now this year, 50 years. So the cheese farm started at 1974. We're celebrating actually the anniversary.
Incredible. Is that why you're dressed in this beautiful outfit?
Yeah, it's part of the cheese farm, and also it is a traditional cheese costume.
Love that.
Yes. I have something here for you.
Amazing. Ooh. Love me some cheese.
So the first cheese I have is our young cow cheese. It's aged for 1 month, and from that age we call the cheese young.
Young cheese.
It's very easy to slice.
It's delicious. Very Gouda.
She didn't even chew it. She put it in her mouth and she was already blown away. She's like,
I've always loved cheese, so this is the experience for me. I might have another slice of that.
Okay, so it seems like somebody might just eat all the cheese here. You do realize you're going to try others, right?
Okay.
Instead of buying curios for friends and family, I got them Gouda and promised myself not to eat it. Now with their cheese in such demand, the Dutch needed more farmland. And with the ships of the Dutch East India Company importing tons of spice, they needed a way to grind it. The solution to both problems was the windmill.
Well, even though the wind here in the Netherlands requires donning a few extra layers, it is especially powerful for powering these incredible windmills.
Listen, with over 1,000 windmills scattered across the Netherlands, I can't wait to find out how these mammoth machines work.
Some of these have their histories all the way back to the 16th century and are used for a variety of different purposes. Milling wood, grinding down spices, and even grinding down pigments to make paint for the world-famous paintings here. All of the time when you see fairy tales about Holland or this incredible part of the world, there's a windmill there. So what do windmills have to do with this part of the world?
Yeah, Holland is a very windy country, so we use the wind. In Holland was also there was a lot of water, and they want to make land, so they used the mills for pumping out the water and making new land. Wind is also good to use for machines. The windmill is a machine for sawing wood, making flour.
All of the cloves, pepper, nutmeg, cinnamon, and other spices imported by the Dutch also needed to be ground.
Look, I'm seeing these three big mechanisms here. They're all powered by the same mill.
Yeah, they're all powered by the same mill.
They look a bit different, these machines. They're wheels.
Yeah, the wheels are different. This is stone, this one is also stone, and the last one is a wooden wheel. But some spices need more weight to crush.
Oh, you've got your turmeric here.
We have some turmeric. That's growing underground, eh?
Wow.
In front of the stones, and the stones do the rest.
Okay, so I have to time this correctly.
They use it for making mustard yellow.
Yeah.
In this area, you see the gearbox of the mill. That's where all the gears are, and it's driven by leather belts. But it's an update, the leather belts. And this one is modern, only 50 years, 100 years old, about.
Oh, that's so interesting. So, many years ago, they had the big gears driving these windmills, utilizing that power. And about 150 years ago, they added these thick leather belts to modernize the system and use that energy that much more efficiently.
That's where the blades are. They turn this big beam, and this is still working with the gear. The gear is driving the leather belt.
So this main beam is the one that really helps make sure that all the force is used properly.
Yeah. And this is pretty long. It's about 10 meters. And upstairs, there is the blades who are driving this axle there.
So if you can imagine, those blades are turning, and all of that turn force, that torque, is generated through this big, strong piece of wood.
Yeah.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
And we lubricate it with bee wax.
This old boy's been here since the beginning. Got a lot of respect for you.
Next up, 7 million bulbs make the biggest tulip show on Earth.
Enjoy the journey when you've packed Scopex in your travel bag. Scopex helps with conditions associated with gastrointestinal spasms. So, to ensure stomach cramps don't spoil your getaway, always keep Scopex handy.
20% of Holland is land reclaimed from the sea, and that means more fields to grow flowers.
It happens just once a year, and we are super blessed to be able to experience the world-renowned flower parade here in the Netherlands. This is not a new parade. This has been going on for quite a number of years.
Yeah, 77 years already. It started just after the Second World War. 1947, there was this bulb grower, and he lived in a little town nearby, Hillegom it's called. and he grew all these beautiful flowers. And he thought, after this dark period of time, we have to get some light and some hope and some glimmer into the world. So he built on his little van he built a shape of a wheel, and he decorated them with the hyacinth. So it was a very big blue wheel with all these beautiful shapes. And he drove this little van of him. He drove it to about 3 towns. And those 3 mayors of those towns, they thought it was such a lovely idea. They started to make this into a parade, an annual parade. And it's called the Bloemencorso Bollenstreek. And we have it every year in the springtime.
So we're starting with the illumination tonight and then the procession tomorrow. What's the reason for that?
Because this town is a real rural town, and they grow all the bulbs here in this area. So because the route we have to travel is 42 kilometers, it's very long. So we have this town and we do it over here, but it's in the evening. So that's why we started to put lights on the floats. It's lit up, it's really amazing to see the flowers lit in this little town here. It's really nice.
It's going to be an exquisite evening tonight. It almost feels like a Christmas market in the middle of spring. And it feels like we've almost stumbled on a hidden gem, might I say, before the huge procession tomorrow. It's going to be a magical evening.
Our imaginations were all fired up, but our hands and feet frozen. A good thing I'd prescribed myself the perfect way to thaw out.
I always love these cozy moments where we just get to read and relax. But you know what would hit the spot right now?
Coffee.
Jacobs, yes! Please, my love, that would be amazing. Can I get the caramel mocha?
Got it. There you go.
Ooh, I always love how quick it is.
Well, to a great time in Amsterdam.
Yeah, it's cold here, so this is going to make us nice and cozy.
This is going to help.
It's just wonderful.
We'd seen the curtain raiser to the flower show. Next day at Keukenhof Tulip Gardens was the main act.
We're here in the heart of tulip country to celebrate 75 years of Keukenhof's amazing showcase. This is a place where you're going to get to see all sorts of flowers, but most importantly, flower bulbs.
To be able to travel to Netherlands in the springtime means that we're able to experience this once-in-a-lifetime experience. And I can't wait to get my flower girl pumping as we go and explore the world's greatest tulip show.
Ready to see more tulips than you'll ever see in your life?
I mean, I'm ready to get blown away.
It's probably going to be quite breathtaking.
Let's go, babe. This time of year is known to be the busiest time in the annual calendar of the Netherlands, and you can see why. Thousands of people flock from around the world to see these many varieties of beautiful tulips, and I think it's going to be a wonderful thing to experience together. Oh my gosh, wow, look at these colors. I mean, there are over 7 million different bulbs that have been hand planted here and over 800 different varieties. You think you spot your favorite tulip, look a little bit further, then you spot another one. It is a feast for the eyes.
All the senses are stimulated. You can hear the birds chirping, everybody's moving around. And speaking of, there are over 100,000 people here. Sorry, Taylor Swift, looks like the flowers have you beat when it comes to people coming in to see them.
It really is amazing to think about how much time and effort goes into keeping these gardens pristine. And when you think about one bulb taking up to 10 years to perfect, you really start to recognize how much work has gone into this. Each and every bulb is hand planted, and then to keep the showpiece unique each and every year, those bulbs are taken out of the ground once again. You don't have to do that in your garden, but it just goes to show that beauty takes love, teamwork, and lots of collaboration to come into fruition. Now, you might think that all tulips come from the Netherlands, but actually they originated all the way in the Kazakhstan mountains and made their way here through China, Persia, Turkey, and Anbar.
I mean, it's so wild, right? With so many of them here, you'd think they would come from here, but that just goes to show you this perfect climate and environment allows them to thrive. With 3 billion of them exported, they become Netherlands' #1 export.
Wow, these growers, the Kapitein Group, have been going for 4 generations since 1926.
This was started in 1949, so maybe they were part of the original 20 growers that helped make this into what it is today. You know, the beauty of Keukenhof is that these flower bulbs actually bloom every 2 weeks, but the showcase is for 3 months. Bit of a conundrum, but they've solved it in such a beautiful way. They use the lasagna planting method, which allows the bulb to have its time in the sun, then get removed, and a lower bulb to come out and have its time as well. So everyone can marvel at their wonder.
It's that thoughtfulness that really does make this place feel like an enchanted floral Disneyland of our very own.
A Disneyland with not just flower bulbs, but all sorts of flowers. You have to come here. You know, you'd think it would be the size of the flower that would dictate the price, but it's actually the bulb under the ground that you can't see that tells you how expensive it's going to be. Goes to show you, it's the inside that counts.
Yeah, some might say size matters.
No, the inside, but the beauty, or should I say the unpredictability of the springtime in Netherlands is why these flowers are so incredible. They get a bunch of rain, they get the right kind of climate, but it also means you have to weather the storm to be able to really get that prize.
So often when we're traveling, you really try to aim for blue, sunny skies. But when it comes to the Netherlands, the wind helps the tulips to dance in the wind. The rain is what gives this landscape its splendor, its beauty. So it's really about creating moments of beauty within the cloudy weather, and that's what creates the magic.
A true life fairy tale which I got to see with my prince. As the flower parade continues, all the tools of this huge farming industry are repurposed into creating a fantasy.
One of the things that really makes this float parade stand out here in the Netherlands is you can encourage yourself to take a deep breath in and smell the flowers as they move through. A lot of the floats are usually decorated with hyacinths, but this year, because the Netherlands had a higher than average amount of rainfall, most of the floats are decorated with tulips, which is really something special.
The brass band wasn't going to let anything rain on their parade, and we seconded the motion.
Are you enjoying your day, Esther? So nice to see you.
Yeah, it's just fine. The weather doesn't matter at all because the warmth of all the people, it's great. It's great.
And have we got anyone special coming up?
Yes, on the next float there will be the mayor of this town. He's standing there with his wife. It's so lovely. Wow. It's his last term, so he's saying goodbye to all his people. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone has totally braved the weather, like you said. You can feel the festivities. The energy is infectious, and I'm so glad we bumped into you.
Yeah.
Here comes the mayor.
That's way. It really is an artwork of two kinds. You have the structural engineering that goes into creating these huge forms, and then the floral designers who add motifs and different hues of color using a variety of different flowers.
They all come together so nicely, the flowers, and when you stare at them, you can really see each and every petal there making the overall beautiful artwork.
Wow, what an incredible afternoon it's been. I mean, you can feel the excitement in the air. People are laughing, dancing, and the people in the parade were waving at us as if they just started their journey, whereas I'm sure they've been driving for hours. It is contagious energy. I feel like I've been welcomed by the Dutch culture, and yeah, this has been one for the books for sure.
The essence of this parade lives on right here today, and we're going to take some of it and move along with us, and we know that you've enjoyed it too. You know what? I haven't stopped. You know, I just gotta plan a flow.
Coming up, the foodies who dish out Michelin stars created the Green Star to reward dining that's sustainable and delicious.
Find your wonderful. Jacob's Wunderbar.
Free yourself and your loved ones from sneezes, from runny and itchy noses, from itches and scratches when you travel with Allergix Non-Drowsy. Allergix Non-Drowsy helps you live, work, play and sleep allergy-free.
After skipping through all those flowers, we were hoping that a lunch of sustainable seasonal fare would also be filling.
We're starting today's morning at the impeccable Kas Restaurant, surrounded by green and treated to delicious farm-to-table style food.
There's nothing like eating incredibly tasting food, but also knowing that it's sustainable. So, heard of Michelin star? We're about to tell you about a green star. The Kas has such a rich history. It means greenhouse, but it was a concept, and this greenhouse itself established in 1927.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. It's already, it's almost 100 years old, actually. There were actually several greenhouses in the whole park, and this one's the last one that was still standing here.
What inspired the concept of the Kas in terms of from plant to plate or from farm to fork?
Well, the idea was that normally kitchens are always sort of not on the nicest spot in the restaurant, and we want to create a place for chefs to feel sort of inspired by walking through the gardens and by serving the food as quick as possibly. So pick it in the morning and then serve it 2 hours after. And we're not necessarily vegetarian, but we are, let's say we cook 80% of our dishes are vegetarian, and we still use a bit of fish and meat. But then it needs to have a story, so or from a local farm, or it has to be like very short in a short season. So we do work with fish and meat, but just a tiny bit.
I've always been an absolute lover of all things plants and gardening, so I really love the whole farm-to-fork ethos of the Kas. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, we think it's very important to work with the seasons. So in wintertime, we do not grow strawberries or tomatoes. So we really follow the seasons. Yeah, you have to find a balance between the seasonal plants and things you can grow year-round. Let's pick some celery for the kitchen.
Ooh. Look how green these plants are. I've also noticed you've got your strawberries.
Yeah.
Do you pollinate them yourselves?
No, we have a pollinating colony here. Those are the bumblebees. They're living in these small boxes.
Wow!
And they fly in and out, and they are pollinating the strawberries. And later on, they start to pollinate the tomato plants and maybe the cucumbers or the melons we grow here.
So how do we do this? Do we go all the way down to the stalk?
Yes, but not too much down, halfway, so it can grow back.
Yeah. And you've obviously got them growing almost floating above this water.
Yeah, I will show you the roots. This is called hydroponics. We are sowing the celery in these blocks, by seed, and then when they start to grow, the roots coming out on the bottom, and then we place these cubes, these blocks with the plants in these plastic containers, and then they go on the pond. So they float above the water. They suck the nutrition from the water. We have to add that to the water. There's a pump making the water rotate so it doesn't sit and starts to smell. This celery, for instance, is a plant that normally grows next to a stream or
flowing water.
Flowing water, so it's very happy. You want to bring that to the chefs?
Yeah, I think they'll be really happy.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've loved this, I really have.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Vinegar.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
For Chef Bram de Kante, it's about what's in the celery.
Chef, I come bearing green
Wow.
gifts.
That's a lovely bunch of celery you got there.
Well, I heard we're making a celery oil.
We are. Of course, a lot of celery.
Yep.
With some neutral oil. In this case, we're using sunflower oil. And a lot of spinach, which we also grow a lot ourselves in our gardens. So we start with the celery. If you would like to try to rip this bunch in like 2 parts.
Okay.
So we give the blender a little bit of a head start because it will struggle quite a bit. Perfect.
Just drop it right in?
Just drop it right in. Then we can add some oil.
Am I pouring the whole?
Well, let's start with half.
Okay.
And then we see.
All right.
And then it's your task to push in as much spinach as you possibly can. We put it on 6 because otherwise, if it's higher, it doesn't heat up anymore.
So you actually want the heat?
Yeah. The heat makes the green come out of the spinach and also out of the celery, but the spinach gets more green. So what we do, we use the thermal blender and we put it on 85 degrees Celsius. And we leave it running for around 8 to 10 minutes. And then we pass it eventually through a cloth. moment of truth.
You're keeping me in suspense here. Wow, look at that color.
Yeah, and it's also like super warm. If you now feel the cup very carefully, you feel it's like super warm.
Yeah.
Of course, we now need to strain the oil because we have all the parts still inside.
To the oil, you add egg white and sushi seasoning. This emulsion forms the basis of a scrumptious mayonnaise.
All right, here we are.
Wow, that looks amazing, chef.
So this is what we do when people come in. They get a few small bites to start off with. Of course, we have the crackers, the tapioca crackers, with the celery dip that we just made. And then we have the green gazpacho. I would eat it with a spoon. It's very cold, it's very fresh. A lot of green herbs in here as well. Some tomato, some ginger, cumin. It's very, very tasty. Some olive oil to finish it off. Then we have the lettuce. Our own Beemster lettuce with some salsa verde. So we have some labne on the bottom, then a salsa verde, also with green herbs, of course. Some za'atar on top, which is a spice mixture from the Middle East. And then the last bite, we have the radishes with some piccalilli and a poppy seed crumble.
It looks like they really went all out, but I think this is the kind of way everybody eats when they come here.
I guess so. Forget 50 Shades of Grey. This is 50 Shades of Green. This platter looks amazing. I love how you've got the texture of the lettuce, that crunch, refreshing flavor, and then that almost Eastern flavor of the za'atar sauce.
Sustainability is something that's important to the both of us. I know it's something you're always advocating for, but I have to say, there is nothing lost in taste when it comes to this food. It is a Michelin star taste experience.
Up next, Royal Delft pottery is treasured across the globe, and we get to make our own and print a Rembrandt. Refresh, refocus. Take on the sights of the city. Halls, breathe for it. Ungapheli umoya. South of the capital lies Delft. Once the home port of the Dutch East India Company, its oriental influence gave rise to Royal Delft pottery.
We were really struck by how beautiful Delft is, but I know that it has a rich history to the pottery here.
Yeah, that's true. Because in the year 1653, it was a very famous city here. A lot of wealthy people lived here, and the Chinese pottery was imported, but it was very expensive, and they thought, maybe we can do that as well. So the water from the canal was not so good quality to make beer. And then they started to make earthenware, because we don't make porcelain, it's earthenware. Well, here are we going to do the workshop. This is our room.
One of the things I love about Delftware is the lovely colors. So you use a cobalt oxide, is that right?
Yes, that's true. You can see it, this is painted with the cobalt oxide, but not yet been in the kiln. When it's glazed and been in the kiln for 12 hours, it's coming out blue. The painters have a lot of brushes. You use two. One with a tiny little tip, and that's what they call to draw lines with. And the other one is to fill in. So if you made a flower and then you want to fill it in, you use the other one. Okay. This is a scarf you can test on.
Okay. Just to get used to the technique?
You get a feeling, what is it? This is your paint.
Okay.
And this brush, you have to dip it in the water very wet. And then, shall I do that?
Yes, please.
So that it's filled with paint very well. Then it has the meaning of a pen, actually. And then now you can write with it.
Look how much thinner it gets when you kind of wet it. It ends up being really fine, kind of like a nice little fine pencil, right?
This is the tile you choose, and this is the lines are on it now, so you can try to make the same.
Ooh. It looks a bit intimidating. These lines are not as clear as I thought they were going to be, but I will try. It's all part of the process.
Listen, okay, I have faith in Ness. I'm pretty sure she's going to nail this. So good luck.
Pretty soon, these Shona and Zulu visitors were getting their Delft on in ways that had the Dutch just a little impressed.
Look at that!
An amazing result. You're very talented.
Well, I think we had an incredible teacher. I'm really proud of that, actually. I think that came out okay.
Yeah, I mean, and props coming from her, that feels like a feather in our hat. Yeah, if you're gonna come to Amsterdam, make sure that you take some time to come to Delft. It's an amazing, amazing town. And honestly, there's so much to see and do here.
Delft can also boast being the birthplace of the painter Vermeer, but Amsterdam has dibs on being the home of Rembrandt.
This is a real treat for us because obviously Rembrandt's paintings are famous worldwide. So to be able to come into his home and to get an idea of the man himself is really special.
This is the entrance hall where he met guests and he could show them around his place.
Wow, this would be the first that visitors to Rembrandt would see of his house and of himself, of course. So it's quite an impressive room, high ceilings, a lot of paintings. So you could see Rembrandt is really an artist and a well-to-do artist.
Wow, what a studio. You can kind of see where his priority lay compared to the bedroom.
It's a big room, isn't it? Yeah. And it has 4 windows on the north, facing north. So that's ideal for an artist, for a painter, because you don't have this fierce contrast of light flooding in. So that's probably one of the reasons for Rembrandt to buy especially this house, because it's the most wide, biggest house of the street.
I mean, you can tell that is an artist's mind. He was thinking about how he'd be able to create, using the light, understanding where he needed to be.
So here we are in Rembrandt's art collection, his private collection of objects from all over the world. There are statues from the ancient Greek, butterflies, for example, here from the tropics. So there's a collection of all things that were known to Western people in the 17th century, coming in with all these trade ships that went across the world.
This room is absolutely fascinating. You can tell he was definitely a quirky fellow, and I really love how he's got a lot of natural elements. I suppose he got a lot of his inspiration from nature.
He was always interested in rendering how things look, how things really are, and not just by mind, but checking if it's really the way you can see the things. So this was kind of way also it was where he drew his knowledge from the world.
Rembrandt was famed for his etchings, created by scratching an image into a wax-covered metal plate, dipping the plate into an acid wash to leave an impression in the metal, removing the wax, then inking the plate to create a paper print.
Almost feels like, yeah.
And now somebody needs to turn the wheel. Would you like to do that? So you stand here, push it down, pull it towards you in consistent speed.
Consistent speed, nice, nice.
Don't stop. And now you are adding pressure, so the paper is going into the lines. So etching technique is a deep print technique.
It's so exciting when you're actually unveiling it and pulling it out. I can understand why Rembrandt kind of got surprised when it came out sometimes, because, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think it was gonna come out exactly like this.
The joy is really in the process and the surprise that you get when it's revealed, and to be able to see all of the intricate details. You really have to look deep into the etching. Such a special process. I can see why he loved it.
What a Rembrandt replica in our hand. We get to go home with it. This is going to be a souvenir I'm going to keep close. Top Travel's always giving.
For us, the icing on our Dutch cake was to see the city from the canals, courtesy of our tour guide, Anwar Hofland.
It's been an incredible time here in Amsterdam, but we couldn't leave without at least experiencing the canals.
We've done it by foot, we've traveled by bike, and now we get to coast on the water and look at the architecture from within the city. This is going to be a treat.
In Amsterdam, it's all about the history. The history began all the way from the 12th century. So in the 12th century, we were fishing for herring. And so later on in the 1600s is where the golden ages of Amsterdam basically became. The canals are actually connected to all the houses, and You'll see a lot of old buildings, which in the red light district would start in the 13th, 14th century. And while the canals were built, you start going more to the 16th and the 17th century.
Now it would make this moment just right. A warm cup of coffee. Let me get it.
He knows me. He really, really knows me.
Wow. Nothing like cruising down the canals with a nice hot cup of Jacobs. History all around us. We get to just relax this hot beverage.
Absolutely wonderful.
We've traveled enough that we can start seeing the similarities in every place that we go to. And I really do think, as much as it is the landscape, the area, it is the people, wouldn't you say?
It really is the people. That's the thing that our travels have taught us. People make the places that you travel to, and we're really lucky to have neighbors and fellow earthlings with kind hearts and warm spirits.
Amsterdam, our Dutch brother from another mother, you have been amazing. From the architecture, the canals, but most of all the people, it has really felt like a home away from home.
The rain is coming down, but the sun is shining, and that pretty much sums up our trip here. It's been unpredictable, but so much fun. And so has the season, right? Top Travel has just been giving.
It has been giving, but most of all, it's been incredible having you along with us for the adventures. Don't forget though, it might look good on your couch, but it's even better to go out there and explore this incredible world that we live in. Thanks so much for joining us. This has been Top Travel.
Done. Tick.
Breathe for it with Halls. Refresh and refocus with the trip of a lifetime. Stand your chance of winning a trip to Amsterdam with 2 return economy tickets on KLM Royal Dutch Airlines and 20,000 Rand spending money. With KLM flying daily from Johannesburg and Cape Town direct to Amsterdam, from the hub in Amsterdam, KLM connects to over 150 destinations across Europe, the United Kingdom, and the USA. To enter, tell us what you love most about traveling. Comment on Top Travel's competition social posts using hashtag TopTravelTV, hashtag TravelWithKLM, and hashtag Halls Breathe for it. T's and C's apply.
Another feel-good production.